Hey nerds, I am going to do a review and breakdown of And Just Like That, Season 3, Episode 3, starting now. Welcome back to the Nerd Social. I am Colin. So, Episode 3 is titled Carrie Golightly, which is a play on the famous movie Breakfast at Tiffany starring Audrey Hepburn. This episode is written by Samantha Irby and directed by Michael Patrick King. Spoiler-free logline of this episode is while Seema tags along on Carrie's trip to Virginia, Charlotte is caught between work and mom duties, and Miranda gets advice from her crush. So my spoiler-free thoughts, the plot thickens as there is sudden movement between Carrie and Ian. Finally, after 2 episodes, there's something that's gonna happen. The next thing is that Seema gets another surprise from her boss this time and now has to reassess her life again. So I really have enjoyed her journey so far in these 3 episodes. I am looking forward to more of that. Charlotte tries to keep up with the young Joneses and realizes that she's not in 1998 anymore, which leads to some comedic moments, but a lot less than last week's episode. Anthony gets some more airtime in this episode with his Hot Fellas launch, and also Miranda is a little bit more sidelined in this episode as she has a budding romance with, as I talked about last week, the BBC reporter. In terms of rating, I would give this episode an 8 out of 10, which is a road trip. I think that there's some slight improvements over the last 2 episodes. Seema is a really good voice of reason for Carrie while figuring things out for herself. And I like that Herbert also gives Lisa a voice of reason. Like I said in the last review, I really like to find out what happens with Lisa and Seema this season. Their trials and tribulations to me are more real and authentic. I'm not outright dismissing Carrie, Miranda, and Charlotte, but their issues seem very quaint and flighty at times. It definitely gives a few laughs here and there, but it's like they are trying to relive a version of their Sex and the City days, but they're older now. I think that if they lean more into who they are now, like how they did with Charlotte in season 2, with her being a working mother, and also Miranda in season 1 with her ex-husband Steve and her son Brady, then maybe it would be more compelling to me. So those are my spoiler-free thoughts. If you like what we have to say about this series and other content we put out there, please like, share, and subscribe for more. We really appreciate your support as we are growing rapidly in our social media platforms. So without further ado, I am going to give my breakdown. Spoilers ahead. Okay. We start off with Carrie getting a message from her publisher that these wonderful opportunities because of her upcoming books. One of them was, I think, South by Southwest in Austin. She didn't seem very interested in that. I think that her mind is still on Eden right now. And lo and behold, there is an opportunity in Virginia, and she decides to make a trip down to Virginia, not only to promote her work, but also to see Aiden at this point. This is why I was saying that things are moving along, which is really good. I think the writers of that throwaway scene of her and Adam at the end of episode 2 thinking that, oh, maybe she'll get it with Adam. Maybe this still won't happen. Even Seema mentioned that in this episode. But I think that she seems pretty committed with Aiden at this point, even though there was some really weird moments in the last episode. The opening of the Hot Fellas new bakery, Anthony was having some trouble with it, and also with his boyfriend Giuseppe not wanting to wear the Hot Fellas garb, and he seemed pretty depressed about that. But at the same time, Lisa was able to invite all the moms to come to the Hot Fellas and hopefully drive his business up. At the very end of this episode, Giuseppe puts on the uniform of the Hot Fellas and instantly gets a lot of attention from the Walker buys. So it's very interesting that they are in a very committed relationship, and I really do enjoy that part. So Lisa in this episode gets a little bit more airtime and finds out that her editor, Grace, is leaving for a job with famed director Steve McQueen. Lisa at first would say go for it, but then realized that she had to leave immediately. So it leaves Lisa in mind as to how she's going to complete her documentary. But we find out later on that it took her 8 years on and off doing this documentary because she was being a mother and also being a devoted wife. Her trying to balance all of those things is a very fascinating way to look at from a lens of a woman of color, but also from the lens of just a regular mom that's trying to do everything. And at times she seems as though she has it all together. I believe it's a little bit too perfect, but hey, maybe people are like that and able to handle a lot of these trials that go through as a woman living in New York City. Charlotte, on the other hand, is having a moment where a lot of her younger art sellers are having a ball, going to the clubs and selling art. She feels a lot of FOMO in this case. So she decides to go out and join and party it up, along with her husband, who had a bathroom accident basically in his pants because his pants were too tight and he's trying to be hip and be Instagram ready. So I think that it really highlights the fact that you just can't go back to those olden days anymore. You are at a certain age, and it's not as though you want to act your age, but you also want to realize that there are certain limitations as you get older. And even for me personally, I don't enjoy going out to these places anymore, staying up all night doing after parties. Yeah, when I was younger, that would have been great. But I think that Charlotte still tries to struggle with that and tries to keep up with the young Joneses, as I said in the spoiler-free part. But in any case, it was a very comedic experience where she got out of the club and it was broad daylight and she basically didn't sleep the whole night. So in that sense, definitely some comedic moments, a lot less than the last few episodes, but it again speaks to how we can't just relive the past. Miranda was very much sidelined in this episode. There's this definitely some sparks that's flying between her and Joy. They place each other's hand on each other's chest during a dinner. And hopefully it works out with Miranda because she did have a fling with Rosie O'Donnell's character. She had her thing with Shay. It didn't work out. So hopefully Joy is much more of a compatible partner for Miranda during this time. This is a scene where Seema and Carrie are going on the plane to go to Virginia. Carrie's still struggling a lot with the communication part with Aiden. She doesn't want to intrude while he is taking care of his children, but she also has needs. To Aiden's point, he is actually trying to do the right thing, whereas Carrie is the one that's really at odds with herself. She doesn't know what she wants. And in this scene, Seema is sensing that and giving some voice of reason as to her plights in her relationship with Aiden. So hopefully it gets to a point where it becomes more stable and Carrie trusts a lot of things that Aiden is doing. And it does seem that it's heading in that right direction towards the end of this episode. This was a funny scene where they were at a southern restaurant with the hotel, and so she got a lot of the VIP treatment here. Carrie did. And basically, Seema was looking for fried chicken and didn't really get fried chicken. It was an updated version of a healthier fried chicken. So it left Seema very unsatisfied as to what's going on. And then in the previous scene, Seema was also left unsatisfied by the flight attendant because he was carrying a bag of vomit while she was looking for a drink at the time. This is the scene where Seema and Carrie got Kentucky Fried Chicken, Southern Chicken per se, and basically just reassessing where their lives are. At this point, Seema found out that her partner, Elliot, was not only trying to set her up with a matchmaker in the previous episode, but also selling the business to another guy. And as Seema, who was the number two, trying to figure out whether or not she should keep on being the number two or going out on her own. And so she's struggling with that at this point and wondering why is it that Elliot did not come to her to say you should take over the company instead of asking someone else to do a merger and acquisition. And of course, a lot of these merger and acquisitions do happen in New York City because it's the finance capital of the world. There is a resolution that we'll get to. And this is the next scene where they had an unfortunate accident where the car's tires got slashed because of this. This is my favorite scene of the whole episode where Seema finally realizes that she can't go back. And she looked at this sign and it says, "Do not back up." And basically told Carrie that there's a silver lining in all this. The car being slashed and then the luggage actually being still in the car. And then Carrie's white knight, Aiden, comes in to the rescue. Seema comes to the realization that she needs to move on and start her own company. I am looking forward to how she's going to go about that. Does it mean that she is going to sacrifice her relationship and love life for building a new company and bringing all those clients along? So that'll be very fascinating to find out as we move along. And also with Lisa, how is she going to adjust to the fact that she lost her editor so that the documentary can move forward? Toward the end, Aiden asked Carrie to sleep in the guest house so that his son can get well adjusted to this. And then there was also another interesting subplot where Carrie gave Aiden Adderall for his son because there was a shortage of Adderall. And through Charlotte, she was able to score some Adderall through some of her mom friends. Acted almost like a drug dealer in a lot of ways. So it was a very comedic moment there. So the last musing that I have on this episode is that Kristen Davis really looked very weird in the first 2 seasons, and she does look much better with her, of course, plastic surgery work and much more of herself. It was very distracting in the first 2 seasons that her face is all puffed up. I don't tend to look at all these vanity things, but at the same time, I'm very happy that she was able to find something she's happy with. So those are my thoughts on And Just Like That, season 3, episode 3. Tell us what you think about this episode by commenting down below. Like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. And we will see you in the next video. All right. Take care, everybody.